The other reason why black people then did not have time for this, says we were being hanged,
being shot
we were being raped, and being laid. So we were busy with essentially much bigger things
than,
you know, than fighting to be. So he says once your mother is being raped and lynched, you don't have time about the best cinematography. He called that word. He says you don't have time for that shit.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
that's very true as well.
Essentially, for me, he was saying, we must fight, yes, but we must fight for what's fundamental.
Yeah.
That's what I got from him as an artist when I analyzed what he says. Yes, fight we must, but he seems to think fighting to be recognized and to be nominated at the Oscars, in his view, you know, is not fundamental. But also he gave a nice historical caveat to it, to say,
implicating whiteness,
to look at it from the perspective of this event, but and then you extricate it from the history of black people in this plantation called the US.
Sure.
It's not gonna go to the heart of the matter. So he gave a very full and long speech, you know, but then he went ahead. And then Tyrese responded on he recorded something on Twitter, and then he went for Chris Rock. Yeah. Now, he went for Chris Rock because Chris Rock said he doesn't understand why Jada now, because he mentioned Jada Pinket. Jada raising this thing, Only now. And I argued when we were debating with another comrade, I said, Jada, Will Smith, and whoever can best use their energy in Ferguson. You know, if they've got the platform, which they have, and they have the space and what, we must hear them speak more on Ferguson. You know, because if we are supposed to support Jada on this thing and what as black people, then Jada must also concern herself with issues that concern black people. You know, so that was
make that link.
But had they not,
it was just for that period. Otherwise, we don't want them. Cool. But then the issue of appropriating actually becomes important because these white bodies started now owning this
that's exactly what happened.
Significance actually in the struggle. So instead of it being bestowed on them, they started claiming it and almost like narrativizing it from a place of inserting themselves at the center of the struggle now. You know, so
they become
what happened to Christmas for.
What you had at the time, and this is perhaps what sparked it, the African universities, the white liberal universities were not established in terms of student activism. But after the so-called Burama Aviabier had resisted what happened at Campton Park, one of the things they then did as their centers of resistance was to go to former Afrikaans universities, organize. They had what they called the Studentenbond.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the people we fought with physically at the time. So there was one meeting, and I was not even registered at the time as a student. So we came with our bags. We were fresh from a campaign which we called Employ Black Teachers Campaign.
Okay.
93, 94, we had been expelling white teachers from black schools. So fresh from high school from that now.
Sure.
So when we got...
And the Buddha came
and
like...
So what we then did, this is what we did, and this decision was taken partly in our garage at home, that we can't go to the same universities if this thing is to be sustainable. So we must split ourselves and target white universities, especially Africana ones. We then did that and we went
to grade.
So,
like you still doing grade 12, you think about taking white people that way?
No, Tina, we did it at high school.
And not just white people.
At high school. And in Gooks, there's this Iguguletu Comprehensive was one of the sites where we fought. In PE, there was a technical college in Zweden. It was one of the sites where we fought.
Vista.
Yeah, Vista, correct. Yeah, those were the sites where so it was Khalishewe, Guguletu, PE. Those were the sites we chose. But in the way we were able to manipulate the media narrative, it was almost as if we were all over the country. So what we did, which is something that we developed, if we go into a meeting and there are white people there, like we would call parents, we worked with PASO as well, because COSAS was deployed to kill PASO people literally in the Israel. So that was part of our program to travel. So what we then did was, when we get into a meeting, whether it's a community meeting, because we mobilize the community and explain to them what the Employ Black Teachers campaign is about. So we would go around Sweden, wherever, Tanzania. And so if white people come into a meeting, whether it's at a university or wherever, as we explain the campaign, one of the things we would do, and we rehearsed this, is that if they are in the meeting, we explain that this is a black problem, black people must solve it. And the one thing we would usually say is, we can't guarantee the safety of white people in this meeting. So if they decide to stay, they stay at their own risk.
And we're not going to do that, yeah?
So we have not said we are going to murder people. But as people who are in charge of the meeting. So, but in 96, February to March, we had a meeting at the Free State Technical. Now we came into the meeting unregistered, straight from high school, very smelly and what, you know, not like university students, polished and what. So we came there, when we got into the meeting, we
shower every day, you use it.
Yeah, and you must understand, we were pissed off, you know, and we had this thing over to university people like listening and explaining things. We can't
Actualize,
yeah, you
but
know.
no action.
Yeah.
All talk, but no action.
So we came and we sat into the meeting and we listened with our bags, like this comrade. We sat in the meeting with our bags. Now, the SRC at the time, this was a strange thing. The SRC is white.
Yeah.
And they have a guy there, Urenir Asfahan, Afrikaner boy, who is responsible for what they call diversity, the interests of diverse groups. Now, black students, if they've got problems, they must go to him, not the SRC. They go and speak to this white boy.
You can't even access any of the
No.
members.
You must speak to him. You make an appointment to see Renir. So we discovered this thing. Yeah, something like that. So Renir there, SRC president calls him a guy called First. And you must know they are young boys, but they are built as if they are mountains, so they can intimidate you if you don't know your story.
Yeah.
So he came then First called him as the president, and then he must now come and explain, in the presence of black students, he must now explain to the black students. We could not understand why they are allowing this. He's now explaining what their problems are. No, they are being excluded, and they are excluded because, and if your courses are semesterized, you know, you get excluded on a semester basis. If it's a year, or you know, this current system that continues. So he was explaining those things, and there's a difference between academic exclusion and financial. So he's talking there, and people must work hard, you know, we encourage people, we'll make bursaries available, da-da-da. They are solving the problem there and there. Playing with us when Tariq, you know. But there's a song, then that song goes,
What does it mean?
If you fight, you fight, and if you are not fighting, your mother's ass, something like that.
If you're a coward.
Yeah, you know. So
is a coward.
it's to go back, yeah. So we would use that song if we charge ourselves, if we want to do something, and we know there's not going to be any discussion. You know, there's just going to be mooring and
that's the decision making.
yeah, you know. So when we sing that song,
makes the decision.
But isn't it similar to Magwala?
it's similar.
It's
They are used interchangeably. So we went up to the stage singing, and it's a predominantly Sotho speaking area. That's why we also that song we mixed it. So we went up, you know, and probably more skinny than what I am now. You know?
Probably.
When you saw this Buddha, like, no,
Whether you have your own agenda, and with a T-shirt written at the back, Employ Black Teachers campaign. So we had those T-shirts. Myself with a guy called Marman, we went up. He was holding my bag. So when we got up there was a couple of chairs reserved for people from the studio, and we went and sat there, so that everybody gets a chance to speak, and then we will also speak. Know the thing we're raising, but we came there even unregistered. We turned that thing around.
Sure.
And interesting things we discovered. There's a hall there you wouldn't believe they had 2 halls. The one hall is called, you see BMW, this, I don't know if you notice BMW cars, there's this Bill Trotsky. If you just check BMW, one of the BMW franchises, you know, they have different franchises, but there's this Bill Trotsky, it's an Afrikaner, there's an Afrikaner, this thing, an Afrikaner capitalist group, you know, that was based in the Free State, that got into business with
Not the Broederbond, something else.
it's related. It's related. Remember, the National Party was founded in the Free State, by the way. Yeah, at Free State University. And this is why, yes, that's why the colors of the university are the same as the colors of the National Party. You know, but topic for another day. So, the hall where this meeting was held was named after this guy, who was a founder of the Broederbond. Next to that hall was a Der Coetzee Hall. This is 1996, Der Coetzee Hall. Lekota was the premier, Mandela was the president. Memotale Pule Chawak was the speaker of the provincial council, and they were all called when we wreaked havoc. So what then happened, they left the meeting, everything turned around. You know what those guys did? They then went to mobilize something called the Studente Bond at Free State University and the other agricultural colleges in the Free State. In less than 30 minutes, they were standing outside with baseball bats and hockey sticks and singing the stand. They were going to murder us.
96.
96, yeah. So the Sasco guys, there's a guy called Jada Pinket.
Sorry, this was big, right?
Yes.
I remember you had the chief with Mandela there. Even.
Hey, I'll tell you the story with Mandela. You know,
The chief with Mandela.
I'll tell you the story with, we call him Long John Silver. Tell you the story of Long. So, we then did that thing, and then they came, and then they were building a library. We then said to, you see the steel panels that you used to mark the foundation? We then told students in Soweto that when we go out here, we're going to fight. So the university will not allow you to bring in arms, but there are arms there already because they've also done the foundation, so there are bricks. So when we go out, we must go and gather there. So when they come to us, we know, because they'll think we're not fighting when we're unarmed. And we gave them a good idea. We moved them on campus.
Yeah.
Okay. We then...
Can I take a drink from Africa? Or juice, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so we then, now you must know, outside, not even just across the street is Park Police Station. If, you know, and across the street again, where the way that institution is built, is the magistrate's building.
Okay.
You know, all those people went to the same high school with the vice chancellor. The brigadiers, the magistrate, and what. These people get an interdict like nobody's business. You know, this is the other thing you get to see how white power works. You know, those allegiances from school and what. But we then did that thing. So we were in touch with the comrades in Pretoria Technikon. And then we then formed, what is this yes, Soweto, no, not Lesedi. I was a lot on Lesedi. You know, speaking to, yeah, because they wanted to understand what is happening.
Yeah, why you
Your students are fighting. I said to him that day, I'm not interested in speaking to, put me on the city, to let I speak to black people and explain to them. I'm not chairperson, remember, the chairperson is there, he wants to graduate, doesn't have time for these things, and we are like crazy, you know. Now, then, Mandela phones Lekota, the premier. And remember, the way they constituted the university councils is that they put a bit of political reps, they co-opt them into there. So, Memo Tlalipule Chabaku, the provincial speaker of the Free State Parliament at the time, you know, was a member of the council. So, she now gets instructed by the premier that the president is coming, and the president is still on this reconciliation.
Sure.
And the president is coming. And the president is coming to meet students for this thing to end. But we were tipped off that it's an instruction, Mandela is coming, and
just
all of us, our
now,
needs
right
must, you know, and this thing must end. It's not the end, it's going to address us. We had a position a long time ago.
Like the children you are.
Yeah, before we even went to Varsity, we know where we stand. So we came. We were in a meeting planning for another protest. So I was chairing the meeting.
I would have called you comrades. You are my children. So I shall call you as such.
Yeah.
My children. Stop this nonsense.
So we get a call from the Vice Chancellor's office, from the Secretary of the Vice Chancellor, you know, Taslima. Taslima calls, and then Taslima says, she's never spoken to me. She calls, and then Comrade Neo picks up the phone, our secretary. So Comrade Neo says, the president wants to speak to the chairperson of AZAPO. So I'm chairing the meeting, you know. So by default, I became the chairperson. So I ask, listen to me, and then I ask, which president? Because Comrade Mangena never told me he's coming. Comrade Mangena is the president of AZAPO at the time.
Yes.
So I'm like, he never told me he's coming. So which president is this that people are talking about? You know? And then
On the phone.
yeah, so but I'm talking to him now, like just instinct, which president, because there's protocol, he usually tells us he will come. So which president is this who says he has food? So they then say, so now then goes back to Taslima, says, sorry Taslima, which president is this? Says, no, the president of the country. And then we're like, oh no, tell him to write a letter. We are a formal structure, you must write us a letter.
I remember that.
Yeah, we must write us a letter, and we must continue with the meeting, and we went ahead with the meeting. And then he came. And then he came to the meeting. They called all students, you know, like the Max Prize meetings that he held when called all students, and then he came, you know. And then we did something to him, but it was worse when what we did to him the following year at the Biko unveiling statue in East London. So he came, and then we had planned that we are going to allow everybody to speak, but when he speaks, we are going to sing, you know, and we are going to sing our signature tune, Janamura Mabur. And then we mobilized. So when he came there, and then they introduced him, the president. He was still wearing those shirts of his, and then he started singing. But the strategy was sing, and afterwards we staged a walkout. Yeah. He was left, I'm sure, with 100 students in a 5,000 capacity.
Yes.
We went out.
Yes.
And Sasco people were explaining, they were writing, the house leaders that they left.
Yeah.
He was pissed. And he did not know that we are still going to meet him in East London. So they unveiled the statue, they exclude AZAPO, the municipality does the unveil. And we decided to take our national council to the former border technicon so that to be closer. We are going to disrupt that shit, okay? So we then took our thing to border technicon. So we then took a break in the national council. This thing of the statues, there's a statue there, I think it's a General Louis Botha or somebody in East London CBD. I'll get that picture for you, comrades. We got a comrade, Veli Mbele from Venda, who got up the statue and took a banner with Biko's face and wrapped it around the statue. 1996. Another comrade sprayed.
Intergenerational dialogue.
They sprayed the stick, they sprayed this, and he was standing, and we were all here when he was on top there, because that guy is on a horse, you know, and we know the symbolism about that thing, the victory of being conquered, and we wrapped him with Biko's thing, and that is before Long John Silver comes. And now the hall in East London is a wooden, I don't know if they changed it now, but it's made out of wood, the main hall, the city hall. So he comes, and then the typical government protocol, you know, the other guys speak, the mayors, the MECs, and all that. And then he was given an opportunity to speak. We never allowed him to speak. We sang. And then the president of AZAPO came, and then he did not even say a word. He just did this, and then we went. And then he then asked us and begged us, can we please allow the president of the country to speak? You know, we've made our point, and the media captured it, but the media also captured him swearing at us. You know,
That's how the media works.
And he was also swearing, you know. So when that thing happened, 1996, as well, we would go there, you'd find these people saying they represent black students and what. And when you talk about forms of protest, they don't understand we are banging barbaric.
Violence.
Yeah. So there was this other year where black students were fighting with white students for parking at UCT.
Of course.
White students were protesting. It was a big thing for them, parking. Then these black students joined them. So, but it started with this thing you're talking about, white students, the thing that Brother Letuli spoke about, white students in our space and how they are able to condition even how we react and do things,
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why the decolonized Wits, it's collapsed.
Their physical absence is not really absence.
It's not.
It's presence.
Because that's how
all these black academics.
So, I saw they had a silent protest.
No,
They had a silent protest there,
Silent protest.
Yeah, so I was joking with one of the black academics there, who's my comrade and friend. Yeah, he said, "Count Dibale Nodova," Yeah.
He's one of them. So this newspaper is registered as a company.
Yeah.
He's one of the
forms of struggle,
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I've seen the limitations of those things, that people tend to over-exaggerate that thing, especially if a guy, they say, "Hey Tariq, have you seen how Tariq articulates blackness?" It's just as this guy, that's not good, And for me, I just think we must be careful how we look at that space of things, because the fight for me has always been physical.
Sure.
That it manifests itself in other forms like battles of ideas and what. The first fight, dispossession, appropriation, was physical. And then later they just formed or manifested itself, or rather developed subtle ways of fighting. It does not mean there's no violence. You understand? So for me, that's the kind of distinction I make, that I don't want to find myself too romantic about this writing thing. And this thing of, for instance, I normally see some comrades who think they must read all the revolutionary books. And
like
then,
it doesn't stop at Pico and Sabuka.
yeah, and then you spend half of your life, whatever your life is, just reading, and doing fuck all insofar as actual struggle is concerned.
And reading is
Do you understand?
reading and writing
Is what?
action. It's praxis.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, it has got limitations. That's
What
the point.
limitations?
Yeah, well, Uguti, when you actually no, right, right, Magakes. Uguti, they have got limitations in that.
You look like a model.
The fight that we are fighting has different what you call sides.
Oh.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
Let's see.
It's kind
Emphasize this thing, you articulate the position of this guy articulate without understanding. We would say it's theory and practice.
of time.
How am I supposed to understand that if I don't read Fanon after Fanon?
This is a good thing. I like that question.
It has come!
No, it's a good. I like that question. I dealt with it and I explained to people who would say what Fanon writes about them and what manifests itself in a script. Other people acted it out. Yeah, but so what people sometimes so the mistake that people sometimes make is to come or behave as though the book or the script created
Chicken and egg.
type of thing. Yeah. And then they sometimes sell themselves short and sometimes behave as though having not read the book makes you incapable or puts you at a disadvantage. That's what I'm saying. For me, struggle is theory and practice, and they should be complementary. And now for me, so you could have read Fanon, but that does not imply that insofar as, because for me praxis is important, it does not imply that it will necessarily lead into and vice versa.
Sure. You could be in the heat of things and not be lift from it. take it to a,
You understand?
an
So for me,
ideas kind of
yes,
level.
I think we must always understand the limitations, but also the significance of one, insofar as resolving a particular, like a theoretical problem, would be resolved differently from a practical problem, you know. And you must always understand that those things are interchangeable and not for me antagonistic necessarily. You know?
I mean, that's the important point.
For sellouts, for me, it's useless to quote Lenin Mao. Sellout must fast now. But people want to articulate.
Exactly.
Yo, wait.
But you see, let me tell you, where you see the danger of this articulate mentality is where people think there is value in having conversations with white people.
Oh yeah.
Because there's also that temptation where people think people must go and inform themselves. Where you want to go and show how intelligent you are, you know, and you dedicate an inordinate amount of time. Because white people know me when it comes to racism. I can moor them on that debate.
Yeah, now
On that debate. Like racism is a debate. Wow, okay.
Before I read so and so, I couldn't. When they asked me, but why are you acting this way? I was like,
What
yeah.
do I do?
I don't know what to say. And then for none, and then when you put in that kind of framework, it gives you so much. It makes it so much easy, so much easier.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's when racism is a debate.
Yeah, but what we must do, which is I've also said this thing, what do you say to our people who are not like you, Tariq, who have not had the benefit of liberal education and be able to articulate whatever that thing is,
Regurgitate.
and the articulation also, which is articulation in the language of power as well, you know, which in itself can be misarticulation, you know, because if you look at the tools that are being used to articulate your own experience, they are tools that you borrow from somewhere else as well. You know? And that can create the impression that if people do not articulate themselves in what is regarded as the tools of analysis, their articulation has no validity. Yeah, well, and this is why I always say to people that we must not create inadvertently in the minds of our people that in order for them to be able to articulate themselves, or they need to have read so and so.
Oh yeah, which is available in English.
Because for me,
French.
we must look at how people intercourse with their circumstances. For me, that's the important thing, you know. And take the case Kapazuka.
Just to
Take the case Kapazuka. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I'm not sure if Bazooka has read Fanon.
No, we're talking about this not so long ago.
Yeah,
but those people didn't read anything.
Do you understand? Has read Fanon. Has read Fanon and da. And you must look at the value of what they have done for us and our project.
But like you said, like you don't.
Different psyche. We come to our own with a different psyche. Whether it's a psyche that reinscribes white violence against blackness, which then makes us be so much more violent against our own, or because we just can't tolerate them, you know, being wolves in sheep's pen.
The reason why we must moor Dakism or do that is because you don't expect that from your own.
Yes.
So you are the mooring there is more from the moral perspective, which you are family.
Sure. You can't
be doing what the enemies are supposed to be doing.
The mooring happens differently because I move you now, I don't kick you out. I move you now, you go there, you cry, you come back, business goes on.
No, it's family. I get it's love. It's how you show love.
I think Umas said exactly that as well. This family is sure fine. We might have done some things that are not, you know, accordant to what we should do as black men, but to kick us out there doesn't make sense. Masilo and go beat me up, I go cry, and business continues.
But there, the big problem there, I don't know if I can say it at theoretical level or whatever. It's this thing where patriarchy is equal to racism. It is viewed so unfortunately that way that male dominance just the same as white domination. Like, oh, bruh, no man. As black people, you know, we have this common enemy, which is whiteness. That against it we must be consolidated and be one. But it doesn't mean that that outside whiteness is not immanent or pregnant, like its seeds are planted pregnant within us, even as a group. You know, so therefore we must, as we fight whiteness from without, we must also fight its attributes and effects that it has within us, from within, in whatever demobilizing way that it performs itself, where it makes us socially pack each other, as being women at the bottom, or I don't know, queer at the very most bottomless, bottom, and then of course grade each other, and then middle class, male, black, out. We must fight that. There's no way that we must not. But in fighting it, we must know that we are fighting an intramural struggle, a struggle of discipleship under the tutelage of whiteness that is within, rather than the way that we would fight, whiteness as we are fighting it, pestilence. Because we must destroy whiteness like it's a disease, but we can't destroy each other like we're diseases amongst each other. And when this, the feminist group, queer, it looks like they're destroying a disease from within. Like, bro, we're not disease. We're just perhaps infected a little bit. Sometimes we forget. We're discipled by this thing. Of course, we don't know any other reality outside of of this. But our real energy and strength must be spent fighting against whiteness.